The GForce RPX9 Exodus. Let's check it out. Guys, when it comes to the Glock clones, Gen 3, Gen 4, they are a dime a dozen. There's so many different offerings out there. But with those offerings, there's a lot of choices. And today we're going to take a look at the GForce RPX9 Exodus. And this is actually the tactical model, and we'll talk about the differences. It's Gen 3, Gen 4 parts, a lot of different ones, but it has a lot of cool features to it. Nate at Guns on Deals said, I really needed to check this out, and he sent it. And I'll tell you what, I am very impressed with the finish. I'm impressed with a lot of the features. And even though this is a Gen 3 clone, it has a lot of advancements over your standard Glock, and yet for a very reasonable price. And honestly, the fit and finish belie the price. I would think that this would cost more. So we're going to check this out. We're going to take it to the range and we're going to shoot it, see how reliable it is. But I want to give a big thank you to Nate over at Guns on Deals for sending the GForce RPX9 Exodus Tactical for this review. Exodus. I love that name. GForce RPX9 Exodus, and this is their tactical model. There are some differences, and this just is some upgrades. We'll look at it. This is a 9mm striker fire pistol. It is compatible with most of your Gen 3, Gen 4 parts, and we're going to take a look at that when we start to break it down. It comes in a number of colors. I love this color in particular, the burnt bronze. It's just beautiful, and that Exodus, it makes it look like something out of Rome. I love this slide. Now, just to address the elephant in the room, yes, this does look like a Canik and a Glock came together. So it's a Glanik. The slide definitely has those cuts, but this is, again, all the Gen 3, Gen 4 parts, and this is made in Turkey. So maybe it's a family resemblance. We have a 15-round magazine. They are aftermarket. They work really well. And then we'll check the chamber as well. Now, we've already taken this to the range. We put it through its paces, and spoiler alert, we had no malfunctions. So we're going to check this out, though. There's a lot of details. There are some cons, but there's a lot of pros. One of the big one is the price. It's about half the price of your standard Glock. Now, there's a ton of different Glock aftermarket clones that have come out over the past few years. And one of those that's really hit the market by storm is the RXM by Ruger. Great handgun. One of the big things that differentiates it from others is it does have the chassis system. And this is a Magpul collaboration. So great handgun, and actually coming in at a very reasonable price. So the Glock market is very strong as far as guns that are coming in that are clones or adaptable, compatible with your Glock handguns. Now, this has the burnt bronze finish. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's one of the things that when I pulled this out of the box, I was like, whoa, this is a great looking handgun. And it does come in a number of different colors. Of course, it has the QPQ black finish, which is quenched, polished, quenched, makes it really strong. It is a 4140 steel slide and barrel, so it's going to have a lot of strength to it. And it does come in, again, a number of different combinations. Now, this is the tactical model. And with that, you have a slide cut here, so it gives you a nice large window, and then it's RMR compatible. And it's a direct mount on your RMR or your Holosun sights. So you've got this really nice cover plate, actually, and it is all metal. And I love the Exodus right here on the slide. It's muted, it's just engraved, and then of course with GForce logo on the back. But front and rear cocking serrations, it does have that Canik kind of cut right here, and it just gives it honestly a very trim, slim look to it. It is Glock compatible with your sights, but the sights on it are a fiber optic, nice green in contrast with the orange. And it really shows up well at the range. And then of course we have our polymer frame, and then with this magwell, which just fits right to the frame, and it really looks good. It's kind of minimal, and yet it's pretty deep. So we have a nice magwell, able to get those mags in, drops free. This is removable, and you can take this off. And we're going to talk about some of the mag compatibility. Of course, this takes all your Gen 3 and Gen 4 Glock mags. It does not accept Gen 5, mainly because of this magwell. And then, of course, your Magpul or X-Tech Tactical, which we used quite a few in this handgun, worked very well. Nice texturing pads right here, and then we have kind of a checkering similar to the Glock on the front and back strap. It does have a nice undercut, which is really one of the things that I look for with a Glock. I'll actually undercut it right here because you get that Glock knuckle. And then we've kind of done away with that little bump at the end of the trigger guard, but it is squared off, and there is some lines here to give you some texturing. 2-slot Picatinny rail over your Glock. Nice memory pad on either side, and you can get your hand on there, and it gives you a little bit of recoil mitigation. Of course, same controls. We have a little bit of an extended slide stop like the Glock extended slide stop. This is a 3-pin system, so it's definitely the Gen 3, Gen 4. And we have our Glock style trigger, which is compatible with your aftermarket Glock triggers or your Glock triggers. The mag release, nice and serrated, easy to get to. And then, of course, it's not ambidextrous like it is on the others. This is actually the Gen 4 compatible with your mag release, so you should be able to switch that out to the other side. The barrel's 4.02 inches, and it is compatible with your Glock barrels. And with this end here, I think it would be the Gen 4 barrel, because this would be a Gen 4 recoiling system. And we're going to test out some compatibility with switching out the slides, and we'll do that when we break the pistol down. Now here we have a Glock Gen 4, and just to get a sight comparison, the slide's definitely a lot different. You don't have the front slide serrations like you do on the Gen 5. You do have the finger grooves. We do have removable back straps, but overall, I mean, honestly, they look completely different except for some of the controls. And the slide is definitely thicker than your Exodus. It gives it a more trim, slim feel to it. Now, one thing I will point out is right here, these memory pads, the frame comes out just a little more than it does on your Glock. Even though this does come out a little bit, there is a little bit of an extension. We're going to test a number of holsters to see holster compatibility, but this is going to be a factor. Now, the Gen 5 magazine does have this lip that comes out, and because of the magwell, it's not going to fit all the way in. And so it just blocks it right here, but your Glock Gen 3 and Gen 4 mags will fit, and it has a nice little snap to it. Now, to remove the magwell, there's just a small little screw, and then you can take your Gen 5 Glock mags, and they fit in here just fine. So mainly it's just the magwell that's interfering, and a lot of it has to do with this lip at the front. So we can take our normal mags. You can see they're still flush fit. There is a little bit of a bar right here where the magwell fits into it, but otherwise you can't even tell. But just wanted to kind of show that because they do mention that you can't use the Gen 5, but that's only if you keep your magwell. And the magwell is retained with the helicoil, and it's a fairly long screw, so that's going to be really secure. If you want to put a little bit of Loctite on there, that wouldn't hurt. Now, as far as mag compatibility, the original mag works great. Then we have the Magpul G19 mags, and they work. They fit a little bit toward the magwell, but they do seat in there. Then we have your standard Glock mag. Now, this is the X-Tech Tactical. Very nice. We did shoot this quite a bit at the range. It worked very well. And then we have our Glock Gen 4 mags. They work. And then we have our Gen 5, and it's not going to fit all the way in. But again, take the magwell off. And guys, one thing I will say about reliability with these different mags is there are slight differences in production, so you could find that you might have a little issue with different mags. But overall, these should all work. Now, as far as holster compatibility, of course, with your leather holsters, typically, even those that are molded for Glock, it fits really well. And then again, here's a Jackson leatherwork inside the waistband, very nice fit. And then we have our C&G Kydex holsters, and fits well. Of course, they are adjustable. And again, the one thing about it are these pads are a little bit extended. So when we pull out our G code, it's going to bind because the G code is fit extremely well to whatever handgun it uses. So it's just not going to go in. And then we have the incog by G code as well. And again, same thing, it just starts to bind up. You may be able to loosen this up and give it a little more room, but honestly, it's a different slide configuration. This is definitely a thinner slide, but then you have this area right here that's a little bit thicker. Now the trigger, it is a Glock trigger. This will accept aftermarket Glock triggers or standard Glock triggers. So we have our blade safety right here. We have take up to right here. We hit a wall, little resistance, and then the standard Glock break. It's a little mushy, which is typical for your Glock. Then for reset, really quick. Checking trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 5 pounds, 6 ounces. 5 pounds, 4.8 ounces. And they state 5 and 5.5 pounds on the GForce website. Weight on the RPX9 Exodus, 24.1 ounces. Weight on the Glock Gen 4 G19, 24.49 ounces. So about a ½ ounce difference. I think a little bit of that has to do with the cuts here, but really I thought it would be maybe less because there are a lot of cuts in this area. So guys, over at suitsgear.com, we have revamped our website, so check it out. We do giveaways, we have swag, we do a lot of things over there, and we have a monthly newsletter. So check out suitsgear.com. Big thank you to Fiocchi for sponsoring our ammo, all made in the USA. Biggest supplier of ammunition in the country, and very consistent. And we love our Lula loaders. Makes loading magazines super easy. This is the GForce RPX9 Exodus. It's a Glock clone, definitely has a lot of Glock features to it. But I'll tell you, when I first got this out of the box, the finish, and I don't know if it's that bronze finish or what, but it is just beautiful. Has a nice window cut, a relief cut out of the slide. Very soft shooting, and I think that has to do with a little less slide mass, really nice serrations. The grip, very comfortable, has a little bit of a different feel to it. It's not that straight line. Texturing is really nice, and it comes with a magwell, which is really muted actually. Even though it's very effective, it doesn't hang off the end. The nice fiber optic sights, has that orange at the front and green at the back, nice contrast. Uses your standard Glock mags, and it's just a really nice shooting gun. Now there are a lot of Glock clones out there, but I don't know of any that look as good, honestly, as this. Nice trigger, nice reset. Overall, though, it is a Glock clone. Shoots similar to a Glock, but I think there's some upgrades to this. Of course, you have your 2-slot Picatinny rail, but overall, I mean, I'm sure this probably takes Gen 3 parts. I have not done all the research on this one just because we wanted to get it out to the range as soon as it came in. But the looks, that's what I like about this, and the price, and that's one of the big things. Feels like a G19, but I like the grip better. Overall, I think that GForce is coming in with some really nice guns right now at a reasonable price, and yet there's good quality. And this actually was sent by Nate at Gun Zone Deals. He said these are great, let's check it out. So I really appreciate those guys. What do you think?
I like the grip a lot. It feels really good in my hands. I love the sights, that red and green.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite, just having that distinction. The slide just feels so smooth. I love it.
Now for disassembly, we're going to drop our magazine, check the chamber, point the gun in a safe direction, pull the trigger. First thing you want to do is pull back on your slide, just like a standard Glock. Pull down on your takedown tabs, and then we're going to push that right off. We have our recoil spring and guide rod, very similar to the Glock, but a little different. And then, of course, we have our barrel. And this is the Gen 4 system, more than the Gen 3, and here is a Gen 4 guide rod. And that fits into that little cavity. Barrel, again, is Gen 3, Gen 4 compatible. You can use your standard Glock barrel or aftermarket. Slide, very well machined. There's no tooling marks, and of course we have the Cerakote. We have shot quite a bit through this. And then we have our frame, which is that Gen 3, Gen 4 compatible. And then here we have a Glock Gen 4. So pretty much identical, and again, you can switch out a lot of these parts. Now we have the Glock Gen 4 slide. We're just going to put it right over the frame. And it works. Now this is actually the Model 32, but it's the same configuration as your 9mm. So definitely doable. And again, we haven't actually tested this out, but it does fit very well. And then with the Glock frame, we're going to bring the Exodus slide over it. There you go. So we do have parts compatibility, and again, we haven't shot it, but definitely it fits well. All right, reassembly on the Exodus. Just drop in our barrel, put in our recoil spring and guide rod, bring it over your frame, test for function, and we're back in business. Comes in a nice hard case. Have your owner's manual, and we have closed foam padding that locks in the handgun. One thing you'll notice is that there is some space in between the grip and the magazine, so that denotes maybe a little bit of an extension or a larger frame. And we have cuts for your RMR. Here at the top, we have this really cool box, and this is just a little cleaning kit with some brushes. And so that's a nice feature. Fits right in here. There is a space right here, a cutout for a magazine, and we have a government mandated lock. Overall, not bad. All right, guys, price. Retail price for the basic model is $299. On Guns on Deals, the basic model runs $239. This is the tactical model, so it has the slide cuts and the RMR plate, and again, you can direct mount your RMR Holosun on there. And this runs $268. Guys, that's less than half the price of your Gen 5, and really a lot less than you can buy a used Glock that's been shot pretty well. What are some pros and cons? Price, definitely first off, it's crazy, honestly. And secondly, it's Gen 3, Gen 4 compatible. You can replace a lot of the parts on here, including the trigger, your sights, the barrel, even the slide. I'd like to test that out as far as with the Glock, but obviously this makes a good base to be able to change things out if you want to. And a very ergonomic grip with some really good texturing and the undercut. Trigger, we can change that out if we want it. It's a Glock trigger. It's nothing to write home about, but for $268, it's not just such a great price. Magwell is really nice. I like it that it's smaller, it's not big and bulky, but yet it works very well. Front and rear cocking serrations, and the look kind of gives you that Canik vibe. And so it just has a really nice trimmer slide to it. What are some cons? Well, while I like the finger pads, I feel like that it does come out a little bit to keep this from holster compatibility with your Glock 19. So you're going to be able to fit a lot of holsters, but not necessarily those that are tighter fit. Also, it has a 5-year warranty. Now that's great, but most companies now are going with lifetime warranty, so I'm going to give it a little ding for that, but it is compatible with all your Glock parts. So if you have any breakages or problems, typically you can fix those without any issue. And really the last con I would say is it's not a Glock. It is an aftermarket Glock clone, and so it still has a lot of testing that needs to be done, but again, you're paying half the price. And so we'll see over time how these do, but I'm gonna tell you guys, for a Glock clone Gen 3, Gen 4, this is a really beautiful handgun. I love the finish, and of course you can get different finishes as well. But overall, I think that GForce has come in with a really exceptional handgun, and for the price, it's gonna be hard to beat. So guys, we have a lot of choices. I've said it before, we live in the golden age of firearms, and yet while this is not anything earth-shattering, the one thing is with the fit and the finish and with the compatibility with different parts from your Glock pistols, this just gives you a really excellent, proven, simple design, and yet for really half the price. And again, a big thank you to Nate over at Gun Zone Deals for sending the GForce RPX9 Exodus for this review. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Well, guys, when it comes to Glock clones, there's a dime a dozen. I mean,
What we got? We got this.
Exodus.
I like it too.
See, she likes all the guns.
Yeah,
I like guns.
that's nice.
Very good.